There are lots of things you can spend your tax refund on, but one thing you don't have to spend it on? A new smartphone. Switch to Metro PCS now and get not one, but 2 free 4G LTE smartphones for brands like Samsung and LG. Plus, you're on T-Mobile's blazing fast nationwide 4G LTE network. Hurry! Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free smartphones after instant rebate. One heck of a deal, only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
And good evening, everybody. How you doing this evening? My favorite time of year. Super Bowl is right around the corner. Fresh off the Chili Bowl. 17th Annual Winter Nationals are going on in Florida. And you got us right here every Sunday evening to talk about everything going on in the world of dirt. This is the Dirt Talk Hour. I am Damion Bean. The man sitting across from me is none other than the mouth of the South, the man calling the shots down at the Why Not Motorsports Park, Mr. Chris Creighton. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good, my friend. Doing real good. Now, I call the shots, but old Rodney Wayne boy, he's the one that steers the drivers out there. I tell you what, he was down at East Bay this weekend. Well, yesterday, as a matter of fact, and spun out 3 times, drove from the rear all the way, finished second, man. So big news about that story was a Creighton motor won down there at East Bay. Yeah,
I was going to talk about that. Mike Van, and I hope I'm saying this name right, Gendron in the B main in the crate class, come from the B main and took the lead in the 75 lap feature.
And they call him the Dutchman. He's a track promoter as well there, Damion.
Oh, really? Yeah, wasn't aware of that. Yeah, that big 75 lap Sunshine State Modified Series down at East Bay took place last night, and 75 laps for those crate guys, and by lap 43, he had come from the B main all the way from the back and took the lead and just walked the dog on him, man. Took home $5,000. Kevin Adams won the other modified show down there in a photo finish over Maverick Varnador. I heard that was a pretty good show as well. David Rudiman also brought home 3rd place in that modified show down there. In Victory Lane, Kevin said that that new Owens LG2 chassis he got really made the difference. He said that thing was a rocket ship. And me personally, I've never heard anything bad about any of the Owens cars that's come out of there. Have you?
No, not at all. And I tell you what was another big story coming out of East Bay there was that track was underwater. So for them to even be able to get the race in. Yeah, they had so much rain. And it actually had the facility like a pond there for a little while. So the track beat out a little bit, and you can kind of expect that after a torrential downpour. But they got the race in, and I tell you what, they put on one for the fans to watch there last night. It took 90 minutes to run 75 laps.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars down there, too, for both classes. The crate class had 56 cars, and the regular modifieds had 55 cars, so it's that time of year, man. People they're itching. They're at cabin fever. They're ready to get out there and make some laps, turn left. And man, I'm right there with them. It's been a long winter, man.
Definitely has. And dirt track season is just now getting kicked up. This weekend was actually, I guess, the fire off of the dirt track season, and now we'll roll on into speed weeks here. Have some great racing. The modified series is a great thing to watch. They had 10,000 on the Neesmith Tour Series tonight. That was a big race as well.
Yeah, I think Kyle Bronson also took home a couple $1,000 last night out at Bubba. I think I saw something about that today. And them guys are really ready to get it going. Hey, man, let's talk about what we got going on this evening. We got a pretty decent lineup coming on. We got the 2015 factory stock champion out there at the Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri. Kenny Carroll is going to be joining us here in a few minutes, and I know you've spent some time talking with him this week, man. What kind of vibe did you get off of him? Is he ready to go? What's he looking forward to?
Well, I tell you what, he's going to be an interview that all the fans are going to really enjoy here. We shared some videos from this past year, and can you believe this guy outran an airplane? He got on the drag strip, though, of course, the airplane was flying. They went through a little bit of complications. We'll let him actually explain that. So I think he'll be calling in here in just a minute. But Kenny, he has a lot of his own videos and stuff, and he posts them around the web, and he's shared some things with our In Your Face Film Productions, and so it's great to have him on, and being that he's a past champion, and I guarantee you, Damion, he's going to keep us interested in his interview tonight.
Yeah, he's a local guy up here from my neck of the woods in Missouri, and yeah, he looked really good out there this year, and man, I'm telling you, all the classes out there at Lucas Oil, and if you guys have never been out there, I mean, that place is a premier facility. I mean, from the pavement parking lots to the car wash, you can wash your car at the end of the night. They got the big lake back there with the drag boat racing that they do, and Forrest Lucas and everybody just they really did a good job putting that facility together, and the racing out there is just phenomenal. And also we got Brian Shirley going to be on with us, the Squirrel, looking to get back into a full-time racing setup this year, and looking at his schedule, it looks like he's going to be running a lot of big money shows, so really looking forward to talking to him a little bit later on in the show. Tell us about what's going on down there at Why Not, man? When you guys are going to fire up and kick off your 2016 season?
Well, we've heard from Why Not, and they've scheduled the Battle of the States this year. This will be the, I believe, third annual or fourth annual Battle of the States. The cars from all across around get to come down and get $1,000 from factory stocks. We got Stinger classes that's going to get $1,000. $1,000. I think it's $1,500 for the street stocks. I think $1,500 and above for the modifieds, and also we'll have the crate classes there as well. It's going to be some big racing out there, but I tell you what, we're really excited about the start of the Hattiesburg Speedway season as well down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, coming off of a pretty big award that will be announced here in a couple of weeks. We'll actually start the season there March 4th. The ASCS sprint cars will be there. They're formerly known as the Southern Outlaw Series, Southern Outlaw Sprinters. They'll help us open the season there at Hattiesburg Speedway, where we race the Outlaw street stocks, the pure streets, modifieds, street stocks, I think I said them, and the crate late models. So if you're around this area, get ready, put your dirt goggles on, because we're going to go racing the first weekend of March, and it will be on like chicken bone all the way through the end of October.
Yeah, I know Screven's going to do their annual kickoff after Speed Weeks get done. Did I say that right? Is Screven, it's right after Speed Weeks, isn't it?
Yes. Let's see, Kenny's saying that we've given him a bad number there. Let me see if I can get that. Damion, go ahead with the
all right on.
news.
Yeah, I know Screven's going to start up down there right after the Speed Weeks get done. So, yeah, man, it was nice enough today. We actually pulled the barbecue grill out, and everybody's getting ready to go. Speed Weeks is starting up, and, man, I'm ready for this. I'm looking forward to a solid 2016. A couple of things coming out this week. Eldora Speedway was named the 2015 Track of the Year. Tony Stewart and the gang out there in Rossburg, Ohio, who took over Earl Maltus's big half-mile facility there some years back, and they've really done a good job from the maintenance they've put into the facility itself, from the Jumbotron to everything that they've done out there, and you know that's a very well-deserved award. So congratulations to all you guys out there at the Eldora Speedway who are going to bring you on another year of exciting racing out there in Rossburg. So looking forward to the dream, to the world for sure. Those are two races I usually try to make at least, every year, at least one of them. So really looking to go forward to going back out there and seeing the guys. Back-to-back and defending Chili Bowl champion Rico Abreu celebrated a birthday this weekend. Happy birthday to you, sir. And I got to say, whenever Rico Abreu first bursted onto the scene, I really wasn't real quick to jump on the bandwagon. I honestly kind of thought they were just going to exploit him to get some exposure for the sport. But man, I'm gonna tell you what, that dude is the real deal, man. He can drive. I've been fortunate enough to meet him and talk with him. He's also a very humble young man as well. So, man, I'm really looking forward to see what he's going to be able to do when he gets into the NASCAR circuit. So,
yeah, Rico is definitely a great talent to watch right now, and he's made quite a stir the last year and a half or so, and it's going to be interesting to see what he brings along to the Premier Series. I mean, right now there's so much talent in the Nationwide Series and the Truck Series, a lot of young guys. So he's really coming on at a pivotal point there. Enrico's going to have to really, I would say, work harder than the others to get where he needs to go, because we've seen a lot of other young talent come through when the stock was big. Stephen Wallace, one of them, never quite made it to the big top because they were unfortunately racing so many younger guys at the time, Justin Allgaier and a few others. So, Ricky Stenhouse. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes along, and I'm hoping to see Kyle Larson a little bit more off in the sprint cars and stuff, giving him and Casey Kane both believe if they get more sprint car time, they're actually better drivers at the Cup level. I tell you what, anytime you've got those kind of stars at a racetrack, you're going to feel the stands up. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, we got a couple of tracks around here, at least one time a year, that have a NASCAR night where, and I'm very fortunate enough to live in an area where we've got a lot of very good talent here in the Midwest, especially around the St. Louis, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana area, and you got anywhere from the Schraders and the Wallaces, and Carl Edwards is from this area, and there's just so much talent out here that it's unfathomable. And it just so happens that our first guest this evening is amongst that talent. He is the defending factory stock champion out at the Lucas Oil Speedway this year. Guy goes out there, and like I said, he really has to get his elbows up each and every night to get it done against those boys out at Lucas Oil, because they are tough. So, Mr. Kenny Carroll, welcome to the show. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I am
great,
awesome. Man, what was it like to pick up that championship out there? I know I'm out at Lucas Oil quite a bit, and I know the racing out there is really, really tough, especially in that factory stock class. I mean, you got a lot of really good talent out there. I mean, tough season. Were you glad it was over with?
Oh, my wife was glad it was over with. Seasons like that, when you're points racing, I feel like sometimes that may take just a little bit away from it, but it's a blast. We're so lucky to race at the track that we race at like that. It's so nice, and they just make everybody feel like you're a rock star just because you're able to compete there. And you're right, that class is really, really developed and turned into not exactly a straight stock class anymore. Just, you got a lot of guys that have raced 10, 15. I myself raced 20 years, and it's getting incredibly competitive.
Yeah, Kenny, it definitely has turned pretty competitive, and there's been such a growth in the factory, kind of the street stock class. You and I talked about this earlier this week. Competition growing, the series seems to be getting bigger. Even Kenny Wallace said there's more cars and more people showing up to racetracks. Kenny, out of 25 years of racing, is this just a natural evolution of racing? I mean, right now it seems to have a stir, but it wasn't that long ago where we were trying to sell tickets and we were trying to get drivers to come out. Tell me about that evolution and how many times you've kind of seen this come around.
Well, I think it's kind of more of a global economy type of a deal. The younger generations that seen the 1980s late models race, that, was a kid in 1986, got to see Six Pack and all them cool old movies, Well, we've all got jobs, and some of us make some pretty good money anymore, so we're able to build. Basically our class anymore is just about a late model with a cheap tire rule, which makes it that much more fun. The days of stomping the windshield out and jerking the door panels off and you've got a race car is over in most places because they haven't made a race-worthy car for so long.
Right.
I think it's two things. I think it's the age of the people that grew up in the prime of racing, which I think mid to late 80s, are adults now and are before they can do it. And then the second phase is the type of cars that we can race. We've about got to build from the ground up anymore. So that weeds out a lot of the newcomers sometimes, because that's quite a feat to bite off at times.
Kenny, it is very expensive too. I mean, when you used to knock the windows out and put a roll cage in it, that was kind of in-house. Nowadays, like you said, a lot of people are working in the industry, so they don't have very much time, and it creates commerce in the racing community. But where commerce is created, sometimes it is a backlash. It becomes expensive.
It very does. But, like I always say, anything cool is going to cost a lot of money. You know, a Ranger bass boat's $50,000. You know, anything that you're going to have a good time. I know people and friends that hunt and spend fortunes on just hunting stuff, you know. The way I look at it, you know, the way we kind of wrote it, as long as my wife and kids got whatever they want and they're happy with everything, it don't matter what it costs. I get asked almost daily, how much does it cost to race a street stock? I think it's the same answer if you're racing a street stock or a late model. It takes all you got, period.
That's right. Now, Kenny, tell us about this factory stock class that's known as a street stock class around most areas. Tell us about the type of diversity in the cars and the motors, and what is the factory stock class of Lucas Oil Speedway?
Well, they have changed the name. Actually, this year it is street stocks, just to match up with everybody else. So our rules have opened up a little bit. The Neesmith stuff isn't 100% legal here, but we do have outboard shocks, weight jacks on the front, and all that stuff. In the years past, we've never had that. But everybody's got so smart about how to adjust your car that it's not a real big deal, because we can change rear shims in the back of the car about as fast as finding the right socket for the weight jack bolt, you know. So our difference of our chassis have to be 100% stock. The rear frame mounts, suspension points, all that stuff's got to be where it was born. The main thing that sets Lucas apart is our motor rule. It's basically one liner. If it's cast iron, it's legal. The intakes can be aluminum, but the rest of the motor if it's cast iron, it's legal. They did change our rules this year that we do have a 2-barrel now. For years, we were 4-barrel. So we were some pretty high horsepower stuff. So like I said, you know, the sky was the limit. Yes, we have high dollar, great big motors, but, you know, we're all on that little $35 asphalt takeoff, and that's what makes it fair and cheap.
So outside of Lucas Oil Speedway this season, what are your plans to do? Where else are you going to run at, buddy?
I really like the Salina High Banks in Oklahoma. I really enjoy that track. Batesville, Arkansas is one of a kind. That's a good place to be a hero or a zero, and I've been on the bottom end of that most of the time. I'm sure we'll make a trip or two down there. I've been to Muskogee. That wasn't too bad. Honestly, what I hated the most about last year is I've got a really nice toter and a good trailer, and we can go anywhere we want. And there's a lot of tracks in Missouri that I've never been to. So I would sure like to try some of that a little bit more than I have in years past. But we'll see how schedules run and how life's going at that point.
Yeah, there's, like you said, there are a lot of racetracks here in Missouri. I'm from Missouri myself. I'm out towards Columbia, and like I said, I've seen you a few times out at Lucas this year. But I mean, I-55. You got Tri-City Speedway right here. You got Fulton, Moberly. I mean, there's a lot of tracks within a couple of hours of where you're at that put on a really good show. But I mean, out of all those tracks that you run down there now, I mean, which one do you think you're going to stick to the most? Which one's your favorite?
Oh, I'll be at Lucas. I got a really good following there, and you know, I've never been one that thought I had much for fans, but evidently I do. I had a lot of fan interaction last year. I've got a lot of fans there and friends that race. That's, you know, I'm lucky to be able to race there. It's just a good place to race. That'll be our main hangout. But one of the great things about Lucas is they have the other things with the boat races and the trucker pools where you do get several nights off. You know, there's 1 month, I forget which one it is, July-ish or something, that you don't really think you race one time all that month. So that gives you time to travel around. And I just hate to think that I've raced my whole life and I haven't been to Moberly. I haven't been, you know, up around any of the Jeff City stuff. So I'm going to look into that this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, buddy, Moberly, the first time I walked into Moberly when they opened that place back up a few years ago and they went to dirt, they had a monster truck expedition show there in the infield, and I walked in that place, and I've never had a racetrack that made my jaw drop like that other than when I walked into the Eldora Speedway. That place is huge. I mean, it is so big. It was overwhelming. I've seen it on video, seeing pictures of it. It did it no justice. But we've got some really big, high momentum, high bank tracks up here. You really need to come check out. It's fast racing, bud.
Yeah,
now, Kenny,
that's the plan.
Sorry about that, y'all.
No,
I have a terrible time of having a wonderful thought and then sitting here trying to hold it, and it just drives me crazy, Kenny. Do you know how that is when the crew chief's talking to you?
I know exactly how it is. Everybody that knows me knows I can't stand it. It falls out of my mouth if I've thought it. I've already said it.
I'm one of those as well. Now, what I was going to get to there was your branding department. You have quite a following, and a lot of that comes from self-branding. You have some people that are doing some videos and stuff for you and stuff too. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I lucked out. He's actually a neighbor, believe it or not. Sean Cober's his name, Big Planet Media. He used to be part owner of a local TV show here, and just kind of through a mutual friend, we got hooked up with him. And he's not necessarily a big race car guy, but he knows how to make a short, fat redneck look good, as I always say, because I'm always impressed with how the videos turn out.
I definitely think it has a positive influence on the brand and helps build a following base, especially for your local fans. How many of your local fans actually tell you, hey, I seen you on the video last week? Have you had much experience with that?
Yeah, I have. I really have. And it's like a tidal wave. Once it gets started, it gets bigger, which is a good thing. The way I looked at it and the way we've kind of run our racing department, if you want to try to be that fancy, there's no reason that we can't be just as popular as a late model driver. And I'm not like we've thought of anything new. All I do is look around at a late model guy and try to do the same kind of PR work, the same kind of video work that he does. And the next thing you know, you start kind of getting accepted by that. Honestly, I've been to a few of the autograph signings, like at Lucas and stuff, and you'll sit by a late model guy, and I'll be honest, I don't know very many of them, and I'll have a pretty good line there, and the late model guy will be sitting there, and he'll kind of look at me, wondering why I got such a line, That's just, if you just try hard and you're really passionate about what you do, and you're having a blast every minute of it, it's going to show, And if you're if you're willing to let your personality show, and you're not ashamed of that, sometimes it surprises you.
You are absolutely right with that. I mean, you see a lot of these guys that, that they're kind of afraid to be themselves, and people don't really get to see who they really are. And I think maybe in the long run that kind of costs them a little bit, just a little bit of fans, because, people like that interaction with their drivers, whether it's a catchy car or just the number, or they just like the way you drive, or there's something different that, everybody can relate to, and you hit the nail right on the head with that.
And it may be a blessing that I'm in a street stock. People ask me all the time, when are you going to move up? And I always tell them I'm already in the top class. As far as I'm concerned, they don't get no better than this. But, as long as you just are trying that hard and catching everybody's eye, and, the late model guys are sometimes forced into being superstars. And I'm not saying I am, but I'm just saying if you're a street stock guy, it's not expected of you. Therefore, you're kind of on your own time frame as to how fast you make things happen, and that works really good for all involved.
Well, we happen to live in an area.
Yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead, Damion.
Yeah, we happen to live in an area, like you said, where things feel maybe a little bit rushed, and you have to kind of go a little bit faster than you would normally like to, just because the talent level and the competition level here is so high. From your perspective, what is it? The racing talent here, it's tough here. What's it like from your perspective to have to go out there, and especially after you just won a championship, to be, every single night you're racing with the best and the best? How do you do it, man? What makes you stay so consistent?
Well, I haven't had a lot of wins. I've raced for a long time, and in my trophy room, I haven't had a lot of wins. I have always managed to be pretty consistent. I don't know if that's, my attitude or what, but, maybe since I'm not always the dominant force at the track, that makes it easier for me. David Hendricks has wore me out. Brian Shirley wore me out the year before that, and I bet Tim Brown will be tough next year. Next year I said last year was going to be a bloodbath. Well, this year's going to be twice that bad. It's going to be horrible. There are so many great drivers that have 15 to 20 years of experience have bought or built brand spanking new cars. Josh Franklin can't build them fast enough. Tony Jackson has them lined up out the door. I mean, they're just everywhere. And they're all in quality drivers with cars and not afraid to spend the money on the motors and stuff. And like, you know, everybody says it's one at the shop. Well, them guys' stuff's pretty slick when they get to the track. So it'll be tough this year, but I'm sure it'll be a hell of a good time.
Now, Kenny, you sound like an exciting fella, and it probably has not been hard at all for you to get into the public eye. But one of the most interesting stories I believe I've read so far in 2016 was I watched the video of you running down the airplane. I've got to get a little bit of information about this, and I know the fans, it'll just drive them crazy. Tell us how that come about, and tell us about the win. I mean, no wonder you're having more guys in your line than the Super Late models. I mean, you stepped up the game for street stocks.
Well, what I do for a living is I have my own excavating company. And Camdenton here at the lake is not the hugest town in the world, especially during the winter. You know, we have a lot of tourists. But I work with Chamber of Commerce and all that stuff, and I know them all on first-name basis. Well, the head of the Chamber of Commerce just called and said, hey, for years we've done this and that, and it costs a bunch of money. Would you be interested in racing your car against one of the airplanes? And I said, well, I need to call Josh Franklin, my car builder and best friend. And I said, I need to call him and see what we're going to do here. And they said, well, it'll be just like how they race the boats at the big race here at the Lake of the Ozarks. So I called Josh, and he's like, absolutely. And I was surprised because I didn't think he'd want to do it. But anyway, we got out. It was after the point season was over. So we had 2 weeks from the end of the season to worry about it. Well, by this point, we're trying to win a point championship, and I did win by 50, but it was a lot tighter than that. At the end of the day, it looked bigger than it was. So we didn't even let ourselves really talk about it at all until that got over with. So the moment we took the checkers and are drinking the champagne, we got to figure out how to make the car go faster than we ever thought it would go. So we take everything that makes the car go left off and throw it in the corner and label it. That way I can put it back together when this gets over. So Josh, we slammed it to the ground, put equal length control arms on it. We put a different nose on the front, and Josh reinforced all that with aluminum. And, I mean, we had this thing sitting on the dirt, and it looked really, really sexy. So I went and got, we raced asphalt takeoffs anyway. So I figured they're rated to however fast I dare try to go anyway. So I get some of them and we don't groove them. And we put them on. I even have them balanced. We did everything we could think of. And we figured with a little bit of math, 350 gears is what we wanted. And I really, under my breath, wanted to say I went about 170. That was my personal goal. I figured if I go 150, I'll be happy. But I wanted to try to go 170. Now, all that's easy, except this airport runway is 4,000 feet long. Well, you think that's pretty easy, but getting stopped is a lot bigger deal than I ever gave credit. And on the practice before we started, we about went through the lights. And at the end of the airport, I about slid right through them. And I'm from this town my whole life. I used to work for the city, so I know everybody that was going to fix them lights. And I'm just going, oh my God, don't let this happen. This is on practice. So actually, what it was
whoa, no.
Oh yeah, and it started shattering the rear tires because I still had it set up for racing on dirt, and I had to let off the brake, crank it to the front, and hit the brakes again, pitch it sideways to keep them taking out these lights. So anyway, we survived Friday. Saturday is the big event, and they've blown it up huge. I got my toter there, my truck there, my trailer, and we have a little booth kind of set up and all our banners up. And they said there was like between 6,000 and 8,000 people there, and
wow.
They were all
wow.
They were all right around my trailer. Everybody wanted to see me either make a greasy spot or something stupid happen, I'm sure, or see how fast we could go. So we go out there, and we had trouble with our comms. I couldn't hear him at all. So Josh kind of did an arm drop when I was supposed to go, and he did that, and it exploded the mini spool and the axles and everything to do with the rear end of that car. Well, it rolled all the way down back to my pitch, and I mean, the amount of stress here was like the whole stress of the point season at one day, one time. It was almost unfun because it was so intense. Well, we got to thinking, what are we going to do? So we start calling buddies. I'm like, it's just 350 gears. We'll run it peg leg. We won't even put a spool in it. We got to do something, you know. Well, my cousin had a mud truck right down the road, so we went to stole the rear pumpkin out of his mud truck. It had a full spool in it. Josh ran to his shop, got another set of axles, brought them back. We stuffed the whole thing back together, and we were down an hour and a half from the time it broke till the time we raced. We were down an hour and a half. So wow. I was really proud to have my team, my family, the whole town.
Kenny, you said in the video, like, one person went north, one person went south, one person went east, and the other person went west, and y'all all come back together, huh?
Yep. We got back, and Jack had it in the air already, and we were sticking the gears in it when Josh pulled in to slide the axles in the back of it. So, I mean, it was just looked like we knew exactly what we're doing, and we were all about to puke our guts up. So it was a very, very intense deal. Went out there, and that time I decided I'm just going to flip the hell out of that little 5.5-inch clutch. I ain't going to let it break the axle. So we run it down through there, and I'm excited, and I was really, really fired up. Well, I had a mark on the road where the end of my 3,000 foot was. There's like 2,500. It gave me like 1,200 feet to stop. And I was 100 yards from that, 200 feet probably, and the car went to laying down. It went to missing. And I thought, are you telling me that the fuel filter has picked right now to plug up? Are you serious? So I get to the end of the track, turn around, and I hit my tackle tail on my tack. Tack said 8,300. So I knew right then we went a lot faster than we thought we were going to go. So long story short, I think the 350 gears were really 370s, but it probably helped us out. But then we ran a couple more times, and by that point, the point had got made. We went 146 mile an hour and got stopped, turned all the rotors purple and all that good stuff. And then we only had 2 weeks to convert it all back to a dirt car for our Big Buck 50 up here that we have at Lucas Oil Speedway.
Now, that's another
stop special.
You snuck that one right in. We talked a little bit about the Big Buck 50. Tell us about that and how you've kind of gotten off into the promoter's world with it.
Well,
also, great story about the airplane. I tell you, if you've not seen it, it's on YouTube. Look up Kenny Carroll Races Airplane. You can Google it. It's one of the most awesome videos. It was well done, professionally done there, and like he said, 6,000 to 8,000 people were there to see that event. But tell us about the promoters event that you've got going on there.
Well, like I say, Lucas Oil's a special place, and for some reason, the promoter there really, we get along great with Dan Robinson. He's a great guy. You can believe what he says. It's a good deal. Well, I'm always teasing about being all about late models. Of course, he has to run. He's the main promoter for the Lucas Oil late models, where he was last year. So I'm always teasing him about how it's just all he cares about is late models. Well, finally he's like, okay, it's put up or shut up time. What can you guys make happen? So he lets us run, not last year, the year before. He lets us run, and he says, okay, I'll give you $2,000. You prove to me what you can do. We blew it up like you couldn't believe. Facebook, we called. We did all we could do. And for 2 weeks prior, the weather said it was going to rain 8 inches that weekend. And long story short, it did. And I think we still had 40 cars show up still.
Wow.
And then one of my other good friends, Craig Danuser, owns the Whitetail Trophy Hunt. And this year, and he races also. He drives the 117. He works out of my shop, and we're just lifelong friends. All of us here are. And he said, I think I want to sponsor that. He's an outfitter for deer hunting here at the lake. It's just like a bass tournament. Pays quite a bit of money. It's kind of a big deal here. And he says, I'm going to sponsor that. He goes, but I'm not going to do it unless I get like a 5-year or 3 or 5 year deal. Well, I'm kind of blowing him off because I don't think he's going to do it. So he goes and talks with Dan. He comes back and he goes, well, here's the deal. This year it's going to be $4,000. Next year it's going to go to $5,000. And the winner gets a free trip to the free hunt. And the hunt's $3,000. And
wow.
If you win the hunt, you win about $50,000. So it could really turn into a heck of a deal. And it's just, Dan's turned me and Craig and Josh loose on it, and we're all pretty good at running our mouths. And we ended up having almost 80 cars last year. And, with our other recent rule changes, and now going to the 2-barrel, I really think we'll have a hell of a turnout next year.
That's amazing. So you guys go right out of racing season straight into hunting season, just like we do. And now, if you win the race, you get a free hunt. And if you were to get the biggest guy, man, $50K on that's amazing. So that's the way to tie in two different sports too. It's I like the marketing behind that. I really do.
Well, I thought he was nuts, and I couldn't believe he was going to really do it. And then he did it, and I mean, the amount of feedback that he's had from that. Check out our Facebook, the Big Buck 50. Our likes just keep going up on that, and he keeps saying, "How come my Facebook for my trophy hunt don't go up like that?" And I said, "Those racers are different. It's a different deal, and it's really going to be a really cool deal before it gets over with."
Now, I have to ask, I have to go back to that airplane story for just a second. What did that car feel like when it was going? I mean, a car designed for dirt. How did it feel going that fast?
Honestly, Josh, I know that Josh probably just guessed at most of it, but it drove like a Cadillac. I had no issues whatsoever. The biggest thing that I had was on Friday during practice. Believe it or not, we didn't put a windshield or nothing in this car. I wanted it to be a race car. It would try to suck your helmet off your head, and I had a brand new helmet painted up. Brian Reinauer from up north painted it up for me, and it was like it's a bell, but it's like a banded shark. If everybody knows what that looks like. Well, it would try to pick the nose up, and I couldn't see. And, I mean, we were really getting that we're going to have to chain this thing down or duct tape my face down so I can see. And we ended up, I took some foam and put underneath the chin strap and just tightened it up way more than I ever had before. But the biggest fight was it tried to pull my helmet off my head. But other than that, it drove great. It did everything perfect. That was a 3-speed out of a late 60s, early 70s Chevy pickup didn't even have synthetic gear oil in it. It was just an old 3-speed. It vibrated a little bit, but I think it's the 3-speed's fault. It never did, but it was my other transmissions. But it drove great. It did everything just perfect. And then, like, you look in the pictures or the videos, out of dumb luck, the air pushed the car down. We thought it'd blow the hood off. I have a fiberglass hood. We thought it was going to tape the hood. We thought, I had all kinds of nightmare scenarios, but it didn't do none of that. It almost bowed my deck behind me down, and my spoiler even survived it. And we wondered how much faster it'd go without that spoiler on there. But it did nothing about the car wiggled at all. And then, like, you stop it, we had to recut the fender wells because of how the tires, we lowered the car so much.
Right. Well, so when you hit the brakes, it would sit down on you. I bet you that first time you come to a stop, like the story was, it probably had you kind of worried there of what the car looked like if you went off the runway.
Yeah, and the other end, it's like a 30-foot straight down thing. So it wasn't a good thought at all at that point. And the bad part was I was ashamed I had never thought of that before. I didn't think it'd be no big deal. Well, it is a big deal. I see why they make parachutes on the back of your cars for that reason right there. But the car actually, under speed, not with brakes, just under speed, shoved itself down almost 2 inches. So the tires, when I got it back home after it's all over, I got it jacked up in the air, and I'm changing every spring shock and whatever again. The tires were just rubbing the fender wells. That's how closely perfect we had the thing. So that's just a testament. Josh Franklin and Josh Franklin Motorsports does all my setup work. And, if he's lying to me and says he just winged it, maybe not, because it was just pretty spot on.
I tell you what, fascinating story, Kenny. And unfortunately, we're out of time. We got to bring Brian Shirley in. But now, Kenny, we'd love to have you back on the show again, and we always want to give our guests here a chance to shout out to their PR department and, of course, their sponsors and their track as well. But first, from us, we want to thank you for being our first guest on in 2016, and I hope you follow the show and tell all your buds, and hopefully we'll have you back on here probably around the start of the season there.
That sounds good to me. I look forward to it all week. I really enjoy doing this kind of work, and I like doing all I can to make everybody that races a street stock think that there's no reason they can't race for the World Series stuff. What you guys got going down there at Why Not with almost 100 cars, that's awesome. That don't get no better than that. And these are real cars like Grandma has in the garage. This ain't, something that's built out of aluminum. Now, they are built out of aluminum, but they don't look it. They look like a real car. But like I'll let you get to your other guy, but, I got to thank Big Planet Media, Josh Franklin Motorsports, Nykill Colt. Actually got a couple new sponsors this year. Lucas Oil Products actually hit me a little bit. Keith Denny Concrete, Alamo Arms, Whitetail Trophy Hunt, and I think that's about the bulk of it. Oh, James Ray, Ray's Lake Service. He buys every drop of fuel, and that's been a heck of a deal. So it's been a great thing. I've had a killer couple of years. I hope this year goes better.
All right. Well, it's great to talk to you, Kenny. And like I said, we'll have you back on here real soon. Good luck for the 2016 race season. When is y'all's first race, sir?
I think second weekend of April.
Good deal. Glad. We'll be glad to talk to you then. Thank you, sir.
Just holler back anytime. Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Awesome. That is Wheeling, Missouri driver Kenny Carroll, your 2015 factory stock champion out at Lucas Oil Speedway. Man, what an interesting guy, man.
Kenny Carroll could have kept the show for another hour there. I tell you what, he is a fascinating guy, and make sure that you guys go check out his YouTube channel and see how fast he races, too. But now, speaking of fast there, Damion, I think we've got another guest in the studio here, Brian Shirley. Take it from here, boss man. Let us hear about this driver.
Yeah, let's keep the Midwest thing going here. Got one of the FBI boys, a fast boy from Illinois, 2012 UMP National Champion, 2012 UMP Hell Series champion, Brian Shirley. How you doing, sir?
Oh, not too bad. How's it going?
Oh man, I'm ready. I mean, Winter Nationals have kicked off. Jelly Bowl's over. I mean, this is our favorite time of year, man. You guys about ready to do some business?
Yeah, we've been actually it's been pretty warm here over the weekend. It's been about mid-50s, and we've finished pretty much loading everything up but the cars, and probably tomorrow we'll go ahead and finish loading the cars and just double-check everything in the shop and make sure we got everything, and then going to head out Tuesday for Golden Isles.
Yeah, I had noticed that on your schedule, February 4th, your first scheduled event for the year down at the Golden Isles Speedway, and as I was looking over your schedule here, it looks like you're going to be hitting some UMP shows, some Lucas shows, some Mars shows. Looks like you're chasing some money this year.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to, get involved with some good people. And, after last year with my wife being sick, having to scale back, a lot and not racing, but a handful of races, the old good Lord's turned around and blessed us for hopefully, an upcoming 2016 year. So we're going to get out there and hit as many races as we can, I hope.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch a little bit on your wife there. Last year you guys had a real rough year, and we're really glad she pulled through there. Is she doing okay?
Yeah, she's doing pretty good. She's just on the probably on, getting ready to get on the downhill side of stuff. She's starting her treatment programs. And just the road to recovery part of hopefully getting everything stabilized with with the disease that she has, and then hopefully as long as everything just keeps going good and in a positive direction, hopefully we'll be able to do a lot more racing than we did last year.
Yeah, I know that had to be rough for you to take some time off, but it was definitely the right thing to do. But I'm glad. You're going to be getting back into a full swing this year and getting back out there and getting that 3S all over the country. But tell me, I know a lot of people may not know this, but you are a AMA motorcycle flat track champion. You won the 600cc championship, and that's a pretty tough division to win. But how does a guy that starts off on two wheels end up in a late model?
Well, I was brought up, racing motorcycles, and it was definitely something that was my first love for sure. I mean, I rode, motorcycles my whole life. I mean, since I've been 4 years old, that was what we was, born and bred to do, and got real serious into it about when I was about 11 years old, and started racing until I was about, I got hurt there pretty bad back when I was about 19, and it was just a point where the recovery time was kind of overlapsing, like anything you do in life when you're a young teenager. You kind of got a window of opportunity, and it was kind of messing up my window of opportunity to go to the next level, which was, the expert level. And so it was just fortunate that I had a buddy of mine that, was kind of racing some modifieds off and on, and was kind of going with him a little bit, and just actually stumbled on going to a couple of races with him where, I seen like Moyer and Babin, them guys, and next thing you know, my buddy decided to, let me try it one time, and we was pretty good right off the bat. I think the first mod race we was in, we almost won.
Come on, now tell the truth there. You razzed your buddy a little bit. As I remember the story, how it went, you used to tell him that you could do better in his car than he could, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah, I used to give him a lot of hell, and I always told him he was not very good, and that was pretty hard. I was just a young punk then, and whipping up on, trying to whoop up on the old guy, and might have gave him a little more sarcasm than he needed. He was all right himself. He just, how it is, you got to kind of stir the pot to hopefully get a shot to. It was definitely something I wanted to do, and had to make a little noise that way he'd get mad enough to put me in it. And luckily, it was one of the best things he ever did. If it wasn't for him, his name's Bill Givens, there definitely wouldn't be a Brian Shirley that races cars for sure. It's just something that I was fortunate to be at the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, I think you finished third in your first time in a street stock, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
No, I've never raced a street stock. I ain't never raced.
I'm sorry, it was a modified at Pana, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at Pana. That's where it was, and then we did that for a year or so, and then about a year, maybe a year and a half, we did that off and on, and then I realized that if we was gonna try and make a go and make some money, we needed to up our program a little bit,
Yeah. I heard a story, and you and I had talked a few years back about this. You had mentioned being friends with Shannon Babb, and isn't he the one that coined you with the nickname the Squirrel because you look like a squirrel flying through the air on your dirt bikes? Yeah,
we used to ride dirt bikes a lot. We'd go to a couple over places right by both our house there. It's got a motocross track in Taylorville, Illinois, and he'd never jumped the jumps like I would, and I was just always used to it, between race and flat track, and we, in the off season, we'd always run indoor arena cross races and a little outdoor stuff during the summer to stay in shape, and was pretty good at that too, and that's what I'm into. It was definitely probably not a nickname that I'm super pumped up about at first, but it kind of grew on you, and I guess the best thing about it is when the little kids are excited and they come up and they're all pumped up to see Squirrel. It's a good feeling then, so it all worked out okay.
Now I see one of your big time wins was the Summer Nationals there. The final birthday race at Oak Shade, Ohio Raceway. Tell us about that big one there and how it felt to take on the 10,000.
Yeah, that was actually that was probably that was the first 10,000 race I ever won. The second big race that I ever did win. That was in probably the second or third year of my career, probably racing late. Maybe a little more than that. It might have been the third or fourth year, but it was, a pretty big year for us. We just got involved with, Ed Petroff Towing. That was the beginning of the 7 years that I raced for him, and, it was a pretty big deal. His first year we tried to tackle the Hell Tour, and was a little disappointed. We hadn't won a race. We ran pretty good, but we really seen how tough it was. Didn't really understand a lot of it when you think, I'm going to go race for 30 nights, and it didn't have the full experience. And, man, when we was at that Oakshade race, we were ready to go home, and then it just, was unbelievable that we got to win the race, not knowing that we was going to win it. It was pretty, amazing, and it was just kind of, capped off 30 nights of hard work, and thought what was it going to be for, and then we won that race and realized that even though it's kind of like they always say, never give up, always keep trying, and you'll prevail. And that was kind of like one of that month for us. It was just one of them deals. We put in a lot of hard work, raced against a lot of good guys, and it was got a little glory for it, so it meant a lot for me for sure.
Yeah, talking about the UMP Summer National Tour, they call it the Hell Tour. And like you said, it's something like 26 or 27 days, races in 30 days in 6 or 7 different states. And 2012, man, you had probably a storybook year as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you was able to put your name in an elite list of very, very few people that have actually been able to win the UMP National Championship and the Summer Nationals in the same year. I mean, really, man, I mean, the sense of accomplishment there, I mean, that had to be like a pinnacle moment for you when that was all said and done.
Yeah, it is. We were lucky enough to, I think at the time we was the third person to do it. Now Brandon Shepard and Bobby Pierce have did it, but they're the kind of the up and coming, young guns. So, the stuff they do is, kind of in their DNA, and you expect them to do it. For me, heck, I was 32 years old, I think, so maybe 30, 31, 32, and it was definitely a point in time where everything was hitting on all 8 cylinders, and it had its trialing times, through the month, but, we definitely had a month that was still to this day, I feel like one of the best months, as far as in the Summer National deal. Yeah, it's been one of the best months for sure to this date, I think.
You had a really killer year. I mean, to race around the Midwest and definitely in the Summer Nationals, I mean, those races bring out the best late model drivers from all over the Midwest. I mean, you're racing with guys like Burkhofer and Shannon Babb and Jason Fager and Bobby Pierce. I mean, there's just so many fast guys in your area. I mean, it's so hard to be competitive, to really maintain a competitive level in the Midwest and have a lot of success just because there's simply so many good guys around there. I mean, how are you able to do that all the time? I mean, you've always got great equipment. You've always maintained it. You take care of it. And any track you pull into, you're a contender to win.
Yeah, we definitely we try to be. We work hard. My guys, been fortunate to have some good guys with me, and then even the new guys I got, I've been blessed to get a couple new guys over the last year here that are really willing to put in the time. I just was talking to my guys today, and, they worked till, 2 o'clock in the morning last night, trying to get ready to finish up all the extra things that we got to do. So, I mean, that's really what it's about, is putting a team together that has the people that got your back, willing to put in the extra time. And that's really what makes, BSR a good place for us to be able to go. And it's like now, we feel like we prepared ourselves the best we can, to race for the next 17 days. We hope to be able to put the best effort forward.
Now, I know this year you're going to be running the Longhorn chassis. I know you've spent a few years with Pierce, and then when you drove for Riggs there, he was in the Rocket. You guys think you got a handle on this Longhorn?
Yeah, I mean, everything's new. Everything's a trial and error, in racing. It was no different when I got with Pierce. We had the race car, suited me, and we worked at it. It's like anything, you got to work at it. And this deal here, I feel like we've got Longhorn cars by Randy Weaver. So, I feel like having being able to have somebody that's got my back that I can talk to and have a good, you just go, when you get cars, you're just looking to get a good baseline, and hopefully, once you get a good baseline, then I can adjust to what my driving style looks for, and hopefully we'll be fast right off the bat, I hope.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that car, man, I saw a picture of it there on your website there, BrianShirleyRacing.com, and man, that is a good-looking car you got this year.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be one of probably the best. I was telling my decal guy that Craig at KBC Graphics, I felt like it was probably, the best car we've ever had as far as just everything flows really good. The decals match up good. The color scheme's good. So, the cars are good looking. Everything's new and shiny. We got all, hopefully all our I's and our T's crossed, and we're looking to hopefully be fast. I haven't seen too many guys that have got in the Longhorns that haven't been good, so we're hoping that we're just as good as everybody else.
And tell me about
now. Sorry about that,
Chris.
Damion. Brian, what you said you're racing the UMPs. I know it's a broad spectrum. Tell us about kind of the series and the way that it's established versus like a crate series or a limited late model or a super late model.
You mean as far as like the way our cars are based off of?
Yeah, the relationship into the late model class with the rest of them.
Yeah, well, like to a crate, we have obviously an open motor. There's no rules as far as the cubic inch and the money spent on them. We're really in an open class. They've tried to come in this year and modify our rules a little bit to help the cost on suspension and shocks and technology. We really have had an open book as far as how much money you can spend is what you can, it's like anything, money makes you go fast, where, the crate cars and other, vehicles seem to have a more scaled down budget to help keep, the local racer to afford it, because it's really getting, almost
really out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost retarded what we have invested in just the two. We've bought all new cars and motors, and just in that equipment that we've invested to get racing this year, you invest $250,000. It's a lot of money to get invested for a race team just to start racing.
And that's just to get started.
Yeah, that's started. That's not for your expense. And on an average, a guy that runs like the World of Outlaw Series or stuff, they probably spend $300,000-$400,000 a year just running up and down the road alone on expenses. So, they always say, the big saying that I've always heard is if you want to have $1 million when you decide to sell your race team, you better start with two, Yeah.
That's
right.
So, it's just
made famous by Randy Thompson around here.
Yeah, it's a tough deal, It's an awesome sport. It's something that everybody, the racing's good. Everybody loves it, but it's just money driven, like, a lot of what racing is. I mean, there's no different than NASCAR or Busch or truck racing, or sprint car racing. It's just a money driven sport, and we're just fortunate we got, a ton of good people behind us that want to be involved, and we're going to do it as long as we can.
How many cars do you have in your shop ready to race on a given year?
Most of the time, we've scaled back. At one time, we used to have 4 or 5 cars always in the shop, and anymore we just 2 to 3 is really the max. I mean, you get 4 to 5, it's just one over another, more money, and so right now we got 2 complete cars, we got 2 extra motors, enough parts. Heck, we got enough parts to build 2 or 3 cars alone. And then here, probably going from Florida, we were talking the other day, we'll probably just at least get another frame with, like to put the deck and cockpit in it, and just to have over in the corner in case something would happen where you'd need to, if you hurt one, where you could have at least a fresh frame to fix it, just because, we don't live close to North Carolina.
Right. Damion, I tell you what, another great interview here, and it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. This is a fairly new show. We kicked off a pilot show a couple of weeks ago and turned it into this, and you guys were the first guest this year, so we do appreciate y'all having your time and taking your time and coming on to our radio show. Brian, don't forget to talk about your sponsors and those people that are helping you get by every weekend, and tell your fans where you're going to be at next week.
Yeah, we're getting ready to leave, Tuesday to go run with the Lucas Oil Late Model Series down in Brunswick, Georgia. And then we're going to head over to Screven and run with the World of Outlaw Late Model Series. And then we'll finish up down at Volusia with finale there for UMP, and then also the World of Outlaw Late Model Series. And we definitely couldn't do it without Bob Cohen. He's come on big and helped us get everything we've needed to get racing. And, people that help us is Arnie Ranta, Thomason Express, Kids Castle, Cheap Cars, Pope Joy, Skateland, Kim's Auto Body, Jayco, Pro Power. The cars look good because of KBC Graphics. The Vallejo Inc. has come on board this year, and then Algar Shocks is hopefully going to keep us up front. So without most of them people, life would be pretty boring. So we're very thankful for all the guys that have stepped up this year and got us hopefully in the right direction.
Yeah, Brian, we wish you all the best of luck this year when you take your season off out there February 4th out at the Golden Isle Speedway, and we'll definitely be in touch with you, man, and we're glad to hear everything's going good in your family and with your personal life, and glad to hear you're going to be able to get back out and do some racing a lot this year, and look forward to seeing you out there and wish you all the best of luck, man.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys calling me to be on your show, and hope it goes good, and look forward to hearing you down the road.
Hey,
all right, good to talk
appreciate
to you.
it, man.
All right, you guys be good. Have a good night.
All right, you too, sir. Thank you.
Well, Damion, you pop the ice chest back open again and get ready to settle down for Sunday night. But I tell you what, I had a great show here. Glad to have you on board, and want to say a quick shout-out for YellowCautionFlag.com. That's the official sponsor of the show. Also, make sure you guys tune in to 110 Sports Nation, 110 Nation Sports, as a matter of fact. I'm sorry about that, Jason. They have a lot of great programs, racing programs. Also, big news coming out with Carolina Hurricanes hockey player, not a tight end, sorry about that. He'll be on the show on one of Mr. CJ Sports show that's coming up Tuesday, so make sure you guys are listening to that if you're hockey fans. But it's been really cool to get this thing off the ground here, and glad to have you aboard, Damion. I think we'll have a great show next weekend. We've already got our guests lined up for next weekend too, right?
Oh yeah, we got a killer show for next week. Just spoke to a former UMP national champion there, Brian Shirley from Illinois, and damned if we don't have the current and defending UMP late model national champion Bobby Pierce going to be on with us next week. He's going to talk about
the
what
young
it was like
and the great Bobby Pierce.
Yeah, the short, cool one. You know, he got put into a really good position with his daddy having Pierce racing chassis and all those years of experience under his belt to filter down to his son. And I'll tell you, the first time I saw that kid run, he was in a crate late model at Tri-City Speedway, and I think he was maybe 13, 14 years old, and boy, he just went out there and he put it on him, man. It was impressive to watch. But he's going to be on with us next week, and for all you gamers out there, you got smartphones.
This is cool. Y'all listen up on this one. Yes.
Go to the Play Store there on your smartphone and go to the games section and look up the game Dirt Tracking. And if you haven't heard about it, well, man, you're missing out, because hell of a good game. A local guy here in Illinois by the name of Tim Bennett put a whole lot of time and resources, and him and his team have done a really, really good job giving us the first virtual 3D racing simulation where you can go online and you can race with people. And there's a couple of groups out there that they run 4 or 5 races a day, and for about the past 6-7 days, that's where most of my time's been devoted. It's a lot of fun, a lot of good guys. He's going to be on to tell us about, what inspired the vision behind this game, and what he's got coming up. I know they got some updates coming up for it and some improvements they're going to do, and he's going to come on and talk about us, talk about the game and where it started, where it's going, and kind of get everybody's interest going with that. So I can't wait to talk to him. Maybe a few other little surprises here and there, but.
Well, hey, Damion, while we're talking about that game, I've got the game, you've got the game. When the show's over, we'll all just go over to the Street Stock side and make a little group race. How about that? When we leave the show here, I'll click on over there, and you can too. Let's race street stocks tonight, bud. How about that?
No, sounds good to me. We can, I don't know, we got a couple of tracks on there we can choose from. I'll let you pick it.
Okay, all right. Well, y'all meet us over there on the Dirt Tracking Game if y'all are listening in. This will be really cool, and I tell you what, I like this fan interaction too that we've got going on here. We've got some great ideas, guys. Y'all just listen in to us. We went a little bit over time today. We had to squeeze those sponsors in. We'll try to keep things a little bit better on track, and we know after an hour, most of you probably already passed now, and it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on the East Coast, so we'll go ahead and let you guys go and save some of that conversation for next week. We want y'all to tune back in, same bat time, same bat place. I'm Chris, and I know how to talk.
Yeah, and I'm Damion, and I sort of know how to listen, so.
And talk, too, so we'll see y'all again next week, and hopefully we'll have some cool guests on again, and maybe even some intro and some leaving music. I know our producer, he works hard on all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure he's getting us something worked up there. But we do appreciate y'all listening in, and hope y'all tune in to us again next week, right here at the Dirt Talk Hour, brought to you by 110, Nation Sports, and YellowCautionFlag.com. Damion, it's been good, man. See you next week.
See you, buddy.
There are lots of things you can spend your tax refund on, but one thing you don't have to spend it on, a new smartphone. Switch to Metro PCS now and get not one, but 2 free 4G LTE smartphones for brands like Samsung and LG. Plus, you're on T-Mobile's blazing fast nationwide 4G LTE network. Hurry! Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free smartphones after instant rebate. One heck of a deal, only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.